Welcome to the Successful Home Inspector Podcast, where we discuss everything you need to know about home inspection from A to Z. Brought to you by Preston Sandlin and Home Inspection Carolina. We're here to share some success stories and some not so successful stories. Some things we can all learn from, and maybe, just maybe, we can help each other and raise the profession. So sit back, turn up the volume, and enjoy. Now, here's your host of the Successful Home Inspector Podcast, Preston Sandlin.
I always like to have guaranteed inspections. Well, now you can with InspectNewHomes.com. Owned and operated by the Home Inspector team. The only website that's designed for new builders and home inspectors to collaborate and work together. It's a grading system that grades new homes to increase the quality product of their homes. Bring the new builder something they've never had before. Quality inspection by a licensed home inspector at InspectNewHomes.com.
All right, listeners. Well, I am here with a good buddy of mine, Damon ODonnell, out of somewhere in Florida, very far close to Alabama, correct? Is that right?
Lower Alabama.
In lower L.A., yeah. From
L.A.
So tell us a little where you're from, Damon, and tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I'm actually originally from Colorado, but I moved to Florida in 1991 and started a home inspection business, and that's
What's wrong with you? No, I'm just kidding. What made you decide to do that?
Well, had at one point I had a drywall contracting business and got kind of stiffed by a developer, and after having the materials costs and payroll costs, I needed something that I didn't have a bunch of money tied up in materials or payroll, so ended up home inspections was something that I could do, and that's how I got into home inspection.
What year was this?
Well, I moved there in 91. I screwed around with some retail jobs looking for something to do, and then in 97 is when I actually started the home inspection business.
Okay. Now, I know you guys are licensed now. Were they licensed then?
They weren't licensed then.
Okay. Did you get grandfathered in?
I got grandfathered in, yes.
Okay, cool. What's involved in Florida now if you wanted to get licensed, if you were brand new?
If you were wanting to get licensed in Florida now, you'd have to go through either an online course or you'd have to go to a physical course, do 120 hours, then you'd have to pass the state exam, and then after you pass the state exam, then you'd have to be background checked, fingerprinted, and everything else in order to apply for your license. Then once you get all that done, you have to pay $300 to the state after everything's been approved, then you get your license.
Okay, cool.
And then you have to renew your license every 2 years.
Okay, so you said about 97, 96, 97, so you've been at it,
20 years.
20 years, yeah. Tell us about some of the changes you've seen.
Oh, man. When I first started doing home inspections, it was kind of a new phenomenon in the real estate transaction, at least in my area.
I know, sometimes you had to talk them into doing it, right?
Man, all a home inspector was somebody to get in the way of a commission check.
Obstacle to the commission, right.
The realtors did not want anybody involved in the transaction that would get in the way of the commission check. So what would happen is they didn't want to have anything to do with us. And we had to slowly change and educate these people how we were not only protecting their client, but we were protecting them as well.
Right.
And there's been a lot of changes over the last 20 years in the home inspection business. So.
Awesome. Well, it's all right. We're close to it. Well, I'm going to combine these two questions, Damon. How many inspectors do you have, and what was it like to hire that first one? Because I know that a lot of listeners out there struggle with that.
Okay, this is something it's a complex answer because right now I have 2.5 inspectors. Mm-hmm. But at some points in my past career of home inspection in the last 20 years, I've had as many as 6 at one time.
Right.
And
there's nothing wrong with
we end up, you have people that decide that they don't want to crawl through attics or anything like that, but hiring the first inspector I did was probably 2001, 2001.
Right.
And that was not as hard as it is now because there was no licensing requirement back then.
Right.
Now I have to find people that I'm going to be
Because my scheduling girl
looking for somebody that I'm going to invest about $5,000 to $10,000 into
Right.
to get them up and licensed and trained. Because the way Michelle and I have our business set up, when when we bring on an inspector, they do their first 250 inspections with either myself or Michelle or both of us, so that we know that they're going to talk the same way we do, they're going to answer the questions the same way we do, they're going to interact with customers and realtors and whoever the exact same way. So it's sort of like going to McDonald's or Burger King. You order a Big Mac, you get a Big Mac at one in Texas or one in North Carolina.
Yeah,
they're,
we
they're
had
all
one
the
in the
same.
Bahamas. I was like,
Yeah.
at least I know what I'm getting there.
Exactly, and that's what we want with our inspectors, so that if they want one inspector, say they want Inspector A and he's not available, Inspector B or Inspector C will work just as good because they know that they're getting consistency all the way across the board.
That's an excellent answer. And for all the listeners out there, first let me say, there's nothing wrong with being a one-man shop. There's days I wish that I was back at that. And there's nothing wrong with, it's not like the number of inspectors. That really doesn't matter. But what Damon said is exactly true. When you hire people, what happens is, because if it's just you, the only bad thing is you don't really own a business. You own a job.
Yeah, the business owns you.
Until you get inspectors, you just own a job. But what happens early on is that I found, and everybody I talk to, they always want you, always want Damon, always want Damon. And, the thing is, if he's trying to grow, what he has to do is, like he said, train these folks to talk like him, walk like him, speak like him. And then what he can do when they call, Damon's too big, he's booked up. But, I've got John here who Damon trained, and I would add something else to that. I would bring John along to several, and once they get used to John, eventually they'll say, you know what, I know John, he's come with Damon, and then you kind of wean them off of you.
Well, that's why we have the first 250 inspections that they do is with one of the other people, so that they get more familiarized with what's going on.
Right.
The pitfall that a lot of inspectors get into is they build the business around themselves rather than the company.
Exactly. Damon, do you have a success quote you could share with us?
Well, not really a success quote, but one that is kind of a credo that I learned from Patty Thornberry.
Okay.
Is I don't want market share, I want market domination.
You are the market share.
Who wants to share the market?
I hear you. Good stuff. Well, Damon, let's say that I'm a buyer or real estate agent in your market. There are other home inspectors in your market. Why should I hire you? Is there something you do that others don't?
Oh, there is a lot of things that we do that others don't.
Now remember, we got to keep this to 30 minutes.
Yeah, we have so many things that we do. We call them USPs that other inspectors in my area don't do, such as we do a recall check. We do the 200% guarantee. We have a 90-day warranty. We have a foundation level system that we check the foundation. We do mold sampling.
Sorry, guys. How you doing?
We do a lot of other things. We always try to have at least 2 inspectors on every inspection. That's just something that my company does.
And you can advertise that. It saves time for the realtor.
That saves a lot of time for the realtors. It cuts the inspection time in half. Yeah, that way people aren't displaced, realtors aren't displaced if they are showing up for the inspection. We have super key access, which most of our competitors don't have. And we also write a user-friendly report, and everybody says that their report is the best, but we accentuate the positive and we address the issues, but we don't address them to kill the deal,
right,
like a lot of people do when they're writing reports. They tend to go overboard. Well, look at how bad I can tear this house up. And realtors don't really like that, neither do clients, because clients, when they see a report that says, this house is a pile of junk, then they think, oh crap, I picked a pile of junk. I'm not a very good judge of houses.
Right.
So,
Right.
the report process is important.
No, I totally agree. I totally agree. And I think a lot of inspectors, they'll come out of a CE class and they're all of a sudden like vigilante.
They are.
I mean, I almost have to pull back. I can tell every time after they go to CE, I'm like, oh, don't come out of here being all vigilante, because it's actually, I know you number one got scared, or number two, it's kind of like all this stuff I know. But if you come in there just tearing up a deal, you're doing the opposite. The realtor sitting there, you got to look at it from their shoes. You're
Right.
killing them. You're killing them. Well, Damon, I'm gonna combine these two questions. I used to ask what people did in their spare time, but I found out, most people, when you own a business, you don't have much spare time. But tell us something most people don't know about you, and what would you do if you had more spare time?
Well, what I do in my spare time is I play golf, and
Okay.
if I had more spare time, I'd try different golf courses. But
Nice.
the something that most people don't know about, well, anybody that plays golf with me knows I'm a lousy golfer, but trying to get better. But
What are you doing Friday? No, I'm just kidding.
yeah, really. Unfortunately, I'm not playing golf. Uh, tell us something that most people don't know about me. Uh, Most people don't know about my private life, and that's why they call it a private life. I've been married 3 times. A lot of people are surprised to hear that because uh, with my current wife, we're so tight that a lot of people think that we've been together forever. So
I thought that. I thought you guys had been together forever. Yeah, she's really, you guys are good together. Um, Now, Damon, you know as well as I do that if you do enough inspections, you're going to have an unhappy camper. What is it? What a UHC, I guess is the acronym. How do you handle an unhappy camper? Do you have a process? What's that look like?
oh yeah, well, every now and then we get an unhappy camper. The first thing we got to do is take it out of the personality
Hmm.
mode. And what I mean by that is I can't, if I get an unhappy camper on an inspection I did and one of my inspectors did, first I got to talk to the inspector that did the inspection, find out what the actual complaint is and if there was something that may be legitimate. And then I've got to be in a neutral mode where I am not defending myself or my company. I got to find out and address what the issue is and
Right.
what it would take to make things right. And one of the ways that we do that is we have a complaint form. It's
Hmm.
not, we don't call it a complaint form. We call it a client resolution form.
Right.
And we send that to them. They fill out the form of, what was the issue, when did they first notice it, how long was it, what actions have they taken, so that we can address each issue one at a time. And a lot of times when we do the client resolution form, what happens is these people start realizing that it's a pretty stupid thing that they're complaining about
Once
anyway,
you,
and
yeah,
it just goes away. So
you make them put it in a logic and take the
exactly,
emotion out of it,
take the
like you said.
emotion out of it. Exactly.
Well, Damon, we're going to get to some highs and lows, but first let's pause for our sponsors. Hey, home inspectors out there, I'm going to tell you a creative, inexpensive way to increase your business massively. Go to homeinspectionflyers.com and get the flyers. You get 5 flyers a month. You customize them to yourself. They're turnkey, they're creative, and it's $29 a month for 5 flyers. That's less than $6 a flyer. And they are done by yours truly, Preston Sandlin. And I am a creative guy, especially when I don't take my medication. But I come up with some crazy stuff. It works for my business. I went from 1 inspector to 7 inspectors with this strategy alone. So again, for $29.95, you get 5 flyers. I do 1 per week. I send them off to get copied on the internet. I can get them for about 7 cents a piece, and I put them out in the boxes when I do my candy run. Works fantastic. Homeinspectionflyers.com. Thanks.
Okay, we
We're gonna,
pause for the
yeah, we're good. Of course, now we got music, but that's a little better. Well, Damon, tell us about a time when you failed. Take us there, and what'd you learn from it?
time when I failed. Well, there's been a lot of times that I failed, but
Narrow it down.
I mean,
How long you got?
yeah, really, 3 marriages. What the heck? Yeah, that should say enough right there. But business failure. Uh, like I said, I got stiffed with a drywall company, and developer went, well, he didn't go belly up, he just absconded with everybody's money. And, I would consider that a failure, and that's what led to the failure of other things, such as
Right.
personal life. But, you live and you learn, and that's when you start developing better systems and better methods of approaching life, no matter what you do. So,
I always say failure is a chance to start over with better information.
exactly. Much better information.
That's right. That's right.
You fooled me once, you're gonna fool me again.
Shame on you.
Yeah,
Fool me,
exactly.
shame on me. Well, Damon, on the other hand, have you had one of those moments where you felt like you come a long way, like a come a long way moment?
I feel like that every day that I'm on this side of the dirt.
Yeah, I like that. I do too. I do too. Do you have a favorite book you could recommend to our listeners? What's your favorite book?
I've got several favorite books. I guess the best one that I like is Feel the Fear but Do It Anyway.
Who's that?
I can't remember the name of the author, but feel the fear, do it anyway.
All right, we'll Google that. Feel the fear, but do it anyway.
Yeah, that's one of my credos. That's helped me overcome the fear of getting out in front of realtors and giving classes and things like that. It basically tells you, hey, just do it. You can only make a fool of yourself so long, as Preston Sandlin can well attest to.
I got where I don't care anymore.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing that I have learned over life is, if you are afraid of falling on your face, then just go out and fall on your face first, and then it's over with, and then everything you can only go up from there.
That's right. So, well, that reminds me, there's a saying I've heard that's very similar to that. It's an old Marine Corps saying, fear is peeing your pants. Courage is doing what you need to do with wet britches.
Exactly.
And I like that. Everybody feels fear. Don't think they don't feel it, but just do it anyway.
Well, when I was in the Marine Corps, it was always lead, follow, or get the hell out of my way. So
there you go.
That's the way I approach business.
Well, Damon, listen, we kind of answered that one. We talked about how they've changed, and I know you don't have a crystal ball, but do you have any idea, how do you see home inspections going 5-10 years from now? What do you think the future holds for our industry?
What I see the future holds for our industry is a revolving door of new inspectors, because people jumped into it, realized that people that have been established or people that know what they're doing will steamroll the crap out of them, and then they do one of two things. They either come looking at us for a job, in which case they've already ticked off enough people that I won't hire them because I don't want their past failures to come into my company.
Right.
Or they just go away. It's a lot of fun to see I call them the cheap Charlies, come into the business and try to do any size house for $249. There's one competitor that says he's doing a $600 inspection based on what my company's prices are for $249. However, he's not doing 1/10 of what we do.
Right.
He is sticking strictly to the minimum standards for the inspection. He doesn't provide any protections or anything like that. So this guy has already stomped on his own feet a couple of times. And what's going to happen is people are going to just, hey, we're not giving him any business. We're going to make sure that he is on the list of never to refer or whatever. So.
Well, basically, you know what he's doing? He has a cheaper price, but he doesn't have a better value.
Exactly.
You have a better value. And when and everybody listening out there, you'll get that. You'll get the price shoppers. And don't feel bad. There's some business you don't want, if that's their main concern. There's some business you don't want. But what I have learned as I got older is I really want the best value. I don't want the best price. I mean, let me rephrase that. Sometimes the best price is not the best value.
Exactly.
But you really want the best. Sometimes the best value, it costs a little more, but what you're getting for it is far better than what you get for the less price.
The old adage of you get what you pay for really is true 90% of the time.
Absolutely. Well, Damon, we just got a few more questions. I really appreciate your time, and I know all the listeners will. Have you ever been thrown under the bus by a contractor? I know the answer before.
Oh,
And
yes. I love it when I get thrown under the bus by a contractor.
how do you handle it? Do you have any ideas? What would you tell other inspectors, maybe newer inspectors, what to do when they get thrown under the bus by a contractor?
Well, what I do, which is something that I found out works great in my state,
Okay.
is if you have a contractor throw you under the bus and uses the words, well, your home inspector should have caught this,
Yep.
or, how come your home inspector didn't catch this?
Yep.
What I do is when I get those kind of unhappy campers, that's what the complaint resolution form is, or the client resolution form. What happens is they fill that out. I get the contractor to put in his own words why we should have caught that. And then I find out if the contractor's got a home inspector's license.
You told me that last night.
If he doesn't have a home inspector's license, I turn it into the state licensing authority and file a complaint against them for doing home inspections without a license. And in a couple of cases, there's been contractors that had their licenses suspended for 6 months, and in one case 2 years, because he was doing mold assessments without a mold assessor's license. So the word's getting out that don't go throwing the home inspectors under the bus.
For all the listeners out there, Damon and I, we're both at a conference right now, and we had this discussion last night. That's where I'm like, I got to interview you. That's great. That's great. That was awesome. Another thing I'd like to add to that, what he said was awesome. Another thing, if you ever, and of course you're supposed to be able to go look at it, but half the times they do the repair and then they want to come at you for money. And I'm sure that you, have something in your contract says you have to see it. But even more than that, ask them if they got a permit to do those repairs, because 9 times out of 10 they did not get a permit and they should have. And then I'll say, so you're asking me to pay for an illegal repair?
Exactly.
And go ahead.
Yeah. What I was going to say is always, whenever anybody's doing any repairs based on the inspection report or even after the fact, they've got to provide a receipt from somebody,
Right.
in order for it to be a legit repair. That's one reason why, if a seller is smart, he would do the listing inspection first so that he can take care of all those problems himself up front and not have to provide all these receipts or anything, as long as it gets inspected and determined that it's a functional repair. So
Gold nuggets, folks. Damon just dropped the gold nuggets right there. Those are write or downer. Write it down, unless you're driving. In that case, rewind it. Yeah, rewind. All right, Damon, one other thing on the contractors, something that bothers me, I see a lot of, we have in our area. We have contractors that use fear to sell stuff. And I don't know if I'd say they're contractors as much as they're salesmen. You get a mold remediation salesman, and sometimes a heating and air salesman. They're more interested in selling a mold remediation or a new heating and air system. And sometimes they use fear, like the your house got mold or you got a cracked heat exchanger one. Sometimes it may or may not. But I know there's some unscrupulous. Do you have that in your area, and how do you defend against that?
We do have those in our area, and how I defend against it is, one, if they're going to start claiming mold, I want to see the lab result first to prove that they actually did a valid mold sampling.
Because half the time they don't. They just start doing it.
They just strike fear in people's. And two, I want to see what their protocol is. If they have a licensed remediator writing the protocol for their lab results. And if they don't have both of those, that, once again, I told you how I handle the people that throw you under the bus. You take it to the state and let them
write all their stuff out, what their thing is, and then ask them if they're, and let them. I like the way you do it. You let them hang themselves first before you hit them with a zinger. It's good. Well, Damon, now remember, this is a G-rated show. I told iTunes. With that in mind, what's the wildest, craziest, or weirdest thing you've ever found on a home inspection?
Wow.
And I hit David. Now, David hadn't had time to prepare. I mean, he's doing it off the cuff.
Yeah. Well, I've found several dungeons.
Oh, wow. Like the 50 Shades of Grey stuff or something?
Worse than that.
Really?
I mean, these things were rather bizarre, but on a more G-rated thing, 8 layers of shingles.
Oh, my gosh.
Wow. That was the most recent, and that was last week.
How was the roof even holding up, man?
It wasn't. It had a lot of sagging, but one of my inspectors sent me a photo texted me a photo and said, "How many layers is legal?"
2 in our state. I don't know, is it 2 for you? Well, you know what? 2 is recommended. You can actually have up to 4 if
Yeah.
it's stupid.
He just wanted to knock my socks off with the 8 layers.
That's
I thought,
crazy.
well, what are these? Those breakfast cereal, the 8 layers.
Oh, yeah. Well, they probably, I'm wondering if they take all that off, if they might have to replace some
They're
sheathing.
going to have to. Yeah. Well, the problem is, after 2 layers, there's only so much nail penetration unless they're using
it's
10
just
penny
sometimes-
nails to put on shingles, and you know that nobody put 10 penny nails on the 8th layer.
What a mess. What a mess.
I'm telling you.
Damon, do you have a resource you'd be willing to share with our listeners? And what I mean by a resource, a website, an app, anything that you've, like I've said, Waze is a great resource, or any organization, just anything you found that would, if there's somebody new in the home inspection business, you have a resource for them that they can find stuff.
I have 2 resources.
Okay.
One of them would be ISG, Inspector Services Group,
Okay.
which does a lot of really good things. And then InterNACHI is another one that I highly recommend for anybody that's doing home inspections, because you get a lot of online continuing education. There's a lot of courses that you can take through that, or there's a lot of value that you can get out of the Inspector Services Group as far as warranties and inspection ideas. And if you join the ISG, you can get into an online forum where if you have a question about something, somebody can help you out. And same with the InterNACHI, you can get to their online forum.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Is there anything, Damon, you're working on right now that you're excited about? And if you don't have something, I do have something. I have something about Damon I'm going to share if he doesn't share it. But and there's only about 4 questions left. So anything you're working on right now?
I am working on. I've developed a certified pre-market program.
That's it. That's what I stole that from Damon.
Yeah, I've been working on that for. This is the 11th year of that. So right now, about 30% of our business is certified pre-markets. So.
Wow. Yeah, what Damon does, I don't want to steal his thunder too much, and there's a lot more to it, but he has a whole program. Most people just do pre-inspections. You have signs printed up. You help them market. Well, I'll let you tell us just the highlights.
Well, we have signs printed. We have a marketing method to our certified pre-markets, and it's a proprietary thing, so I can't really go too far in depth into it, because it is through MIC and myself, so.
I think I bought the package.
Yeah, you had to buy the package in order to do it. It's a licensed type thing, so you have to get the license.
If they wanted to buy it, can people buy it, or
they would have to go through MIC.
Okay, and he's talking about the
Millionaire Inspector Community.
Yep. And there's just 3 questions here. I'm sorry, I'm holding you down. If you had to move to a brand new town or market equal to the size of the market you're in now, you still have all your knowledge, all your equipment, room and board's paid for, but you just don't know anybody. You have $5,000 to market in that first week. What are you going to do? Everything else is paid for. What are you going to? In other words, what's going to be? You're going to get the most bang for your buck in a
most
brand
bang
new
for
market.
my buck would
$5,000.
And my own marketing materials already.
Well, I mean, you don't have to pay for printing or any of that.
Yeah, okay. If I'm bringing my own marketing materials with me that I'm currently using, first thing I do is I do lunch and learns, as many as I could, with real estate groups or real estate teams. If I can't get a real estate group together, I will get a real estate team, a key team. Say, hey, let me take you to lunch. I'll introduce myself, talk to you a little bit about what we do that's different than anything you've ever seen from a home inspection company.
Awesome.
And let them know that we're not there just to do the home inspection. We're there to help them learn how to sell homes faster, better, and for more money.
Nice.
That's, we developed our whole system around educating the realtor to help themselves. So we help them help themselves. And just in the process, we get an inspection out of it. So,
Love it. Is there anything, Damon, that I didn't ask you that I should have, or that I should have asked you that I didn't?
Why is the sky blue?
That's a deep question.
No, I think that you've covered this interview very well. There's a lot of good questions that you asked, and I hope I had some pretty good answers for
No,
you.
you really did. Is there anything you'd like to ask me? And I haven't. We haven't rehearsed this at all.
Yeah, actually, I would like to ask you, how many inspectors do you have?
I have to think, because Chip is my manager. He does all that. I think we have 18. I think 18 or 19. But he managed. At one point, what happened? I had 7 guys, and it was me, and I just could not grow, Damon. And I read somewhere, and I think it's true, that one person can only manage 7 people effectively. So Chip stepped up. He used to be a manager of a Lowe's Home Improvement. So he stepped up and wanted to be the manager. So now he does all the training, all that, and I do most of the marketing.
Right.
And then my wife handles the administrative part. Honestly, I think there's 3 parts to this business. There's the technical, actually doing the inspections. There's the training and the technical is the actual doing the inspection, the training. And then there's the marketing aspect of it. And then there's the administrative, all the billing, the scheduling.
The administrative is what my wife's job is.
Right. Well, and I really think, Damon, that's the rise of multi-inspector firms, is because it's very hard for one person to do all 3 of the wear all 3 of those hats. And even if they do, there's a cost. There's definitely a cost. And it is very hard. I was a one-man shop forever. I know you were too. And you're up on a roof or in a crawl space, and you're trying to take an inspection thing.
And the phone rings.
It's just tough. And what I decided to do was build a company that I wanted to work for. You know what I mean? Because most guys just want to do inspections, and they're pretty good at it. They don't really want to market. They don't really want to do the administrative part, because they want to do the inspection. And I tried to do both, and I come out of a crawl space, and I got spider webs in my hair, and I'm dirty. And now, I'm gonna go try to do a lunch and learn.
Yeah, exactly.
It's hard. It's hard to change gears. Well, Damon, you have dropped gold bomb, gold nugget upon gold nugget. How can the listeners go give you some likes on Facebook? I think that'll help you out. What's your business Facebook page?
It's a professional inspection service at Pensacola Home Inspectors on Facebook.
Okay.
Or you can just look me up as Damon ODonnell on Facebook and friend me, and I will friend you back and send you the link to our professional page.
Awesome. So you can and they can contact you, either friend you. Is there like an email, like on your web? Do you have a website?
Yeah, it's aproinspectsnwfl@gmail.com is the business email address. You can email us at that. That's aproinspectsnwfl@gmail.com.
Awesome. Well, Damon, I just want to say thank you. Guys like Damon improve our industry. They raise us all up, and that's what it's about. We're just trying to figure out, a way to raise the bar in our industry and make it a better industry for all of us. And I appreciate it, brother. Thank you.
I appreciate you.
Thanks.
Take care.
Guys, I want to talk to you about a way that you can make more money and less liability. Actually, no liability. InspectNewHomes.com. InspectNewHomes.com. What happened is one of the largest builders in our market came to us and wanted us to do all the pre-inspections on all of their new homes. But they didn't want us to use just our normal reporting software. They wanted a system set up specifically for a builder so that they could do quality control on their subs, and they could also advertise that all their homes were inspected by a third party. So we came up with this software, this system, a website, a whole turnkey thing where you can take this and take it to your builder and show them how you can save them time, save them money, reduce the adversarial relationship. And it's a whole new market. You will not have to compete with other home inspectors for this market, and it reduces the adversarial relationship with the builder, and best of all, there's no liability. So I'm telling you, it is great. It's phenomenal. I'd love to tell you the amount of money we've made with this system, a lot, but you're welcome to check it out, inspectnewhomes.com, or on the Successful Home Inspector podcast, you can, there's a tab on there as well. All right, if you would like to make some more money with almost no liability, check out inspectnewhomes.com.
Thanks for checking out the Successful Home Inspector podcast. You can find show links at thesuccessfulhomeinspector.com. Check out the website for special offers, information, and other resources. Thanks again for listening to the Successful Home Inspector podcast. And remember to check back for new episodes. The Successful Home Inspector podcast is brought to you by Preston Sandlin and Home Inspection Carolina.